Black Dog After Dark is recorded in a video store by people who have been drinking. We swear a lot, and there's spoilers. It's not safe for work, unless you work in a video store and have also been drinking.
Whoa, this is my mind, man. It's blowing.
We're in the book.
Wow, are we in the book right now?
Probably.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
Roger, Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
I know that, Mr. Man. They also call them cereals. I'm not stupid, you know.
The story is ludicrous. You can imagine where it goes from here.
Fixes the cable.
This one will drive you absolutely mad.
The riots began because the stores could not meet the demand of Sutter Kane's novel, In the Mouth of Madness.
Kane disappeared 2 months ago without a trace.
Kane's writing has been known to have an effect on his readers.
This whole thing has been staged. This is not reality.
It's all happening for real, Trent.
I know this book will drive people crazy. Well, let's hope so. The movie comes out next month.
I am one of your hosts, Dylan Reimer.
I'm Alex Chisholm.
Darren Gay.
The one and only Darren Gay, Alex Chisholm, and Dylan Reimer. And the movie we are discussing to see if it holds up is 1995's.
Is it 95?
It was 95. It was meant to be released.
I thought it was in the 80s.
It was released in February 95. They ran it in Italy in 1994. So I guess technically it's a 94 movie, but only in Italy.
Well, how does that explain the music?
It was released in Canada. Well, John Carpenter. He's never really been all that with it. Anyways, The movie is John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness.
In the Mouth of Madness.
Loosely based on the works of H.P. Lovecraft.
There's been a lot of Lovecraft adaptations.
Now, this movie is, we're going 22 years. There have not been very many good Lovecraft adaptations.
That is true.
The best one, of course, being the Roman Polanski the Ninth Gate, I think it was called.
Really? That was a Lovecraft thing?
And it was, well, no, but you can't really do a Lovecraft adaptation properly because it's all about laying eyes upon a hideousness that makes you go mad, and you can't commit that to film.
No.
For me, hands down, the best Lovecraft adaptations, period, is Reanimator.
Reanimator, of course.
Reanimator, and it's just
a
brilliant film.
I love Reanimator.
Horror movie.
I haven't seen that in a long
sci-fi.
time. I wonder if it holds up.
I guess, I only really know Cthulhu lore.
Right.
I was not aware that Reanimator was actually a... because it looks like it takes place in the 1980s with the bubbling vials of glowing green liquid.
Full disclosure, I've never even read any H.P. Lovecraft.
I've only read The Call of Cthulhu and a bunch of his short stories.
Right.
Didn't put me in a very good mood. But
No.
when you're 16 and miserable in New Westminster, it's the thing to read.
Right.
So we'll go right into when was the last time you saw?
I guess I saw it when it came out on, I don't know if I saw it in the theater or not, or I saw it on home video on the VHSs back in the day. I remember liking it a lot. I remember it being creepy and weird and fun. A lot of John Carpenter kind of stuff. I'm a pretty big John Carpenter fan, and I thought it was one of his better ones when it came out. And I quite liked it. So it was fun. I was looking forward to revisiting this one. It was it was good.
All right. Alex, do you remember where you were when you first saw In the Mouth of Madness?
Yeah, I was on my couch this afternoon getting ready for
God! Kevin, we really have to run...
I had never seen this film before. I remember the ads at the time, but
So
I'd
you've
never
seen the
seen
ads
it
at least
before.
then?
I'd seen the ads,
So
and
you
I'm
were aware
familiar
of
with
it.
the movie.
When
But
was the first time you saw the ads?
when they originally appeared in print and on TV at the time, however briefly that was when it originally came out. Like, I was always aware when another Carpenter movie was released, but for some reason I just stopped going to see Carpenter movies shortly after. Well, They Live was the last one I really loved, and I disliked Prince of Darkness so much I just sort of ignored
I like Prince of Darkness a lot.
his later movies.
Yeah.
So I had never seen this before. Today was my first time seeing it.
When you popped it into your player, did it give you the option of widescreen or full screen?
Yes, it did.
I got that.
Widescreen.
You chose widescreen? Okay, good.
Of course.
I went full screen just because fuck it. No, I went widescreen, of course.
Why would they even bother giving you that option? Like, who would choose full screen? What kind of moron
would
choose
you
full
like
screen?
grainy, shitty VHS transfer or amazing Laserdisc transfer?
Yeah.
When I first saw this, when it came out, with when I was I was in a rock and roll band.
You were in a rock and roll
me
band?
And my band went and saw this because it was John. I was.
Were you like a John Carpenter cover band?
That's right. We did all of the themes. We did Halloween and They Live and
right, and this one, of course, and the thing.
We went there to listen to the music and take notes.
Mm.
No, we were all John Carpenter fans, and we went and saw it. And I remember being at Lougheed Cinemas out in Coquitlam, British Columbia. Yeah, I remember not liking it, and I remember everybody in my band not liking it, and then deciding.
Even the drummer?
We didn't have a drummer.
Oh.
But it stars Sam Neill as John J. Trent, who is
he's never aged, that Sam Neill. He looks kind of like he does back then.
So Sam Neill, and I thought he was terrific in this movie.
Yeah,
I thought he was the best thing in this movie.
Yeah.
He plays what is he? He's like a claims adjuster,
Some insurance kind of guy.
Insurance investigator.
Yeah. Yeah, so they open up on with him in a straitjacket being hauled off into a mental institution.
Actually, technically, they open with the opening credit sequence. Let's talk about that.
I just remember like some really hot licks, like it was almost like a John Carpenter version of a Metallica.
It was John Carpenter is stepping up from his keyboard and picking up an electric guitar in the basement.
It still sounded 80s cheesy though.
Super 80s. Was thinking
that's why I thought it was in the 80s.
Quiet Riot. I was thinking Metallica.
That's what I thought Metallica too. That's the first thing. I even wrote a Hot Licks Metallica John Carpenter version.
Yeah.
Well, just, right away, it made me totally think mid-'80s, even though I know this film isn't from the mid-'80s. And I don't want to say too much about a lot of the message of the movie right now, but there is a message of, art taking over its followers and its fans in a really nefarious way. And for me, it kind of reminded me of what the sort of accusations people were making about metal in the 80s. So I don't know.
Hold on. To be clear,
metal guitar.
To be clear to the listener, if you haven't seen the movie, it starts the opening credit sequence, and I don't think John Carpenter had ever done an opening credit sequence before, because usually he just starts his movies.
Right.
And this is it's basically a bunch of shots of a printing press,
right.
Printing a book by this author called Sutter Kane.
A stupid made-up name, Sutter Kane.
I know so many kids.
It reminded me of Union Kane from Rocky V. He was a bad boxer.
That was a
holy shit! You remember names from Rocky V?
Yeah, Union Kane and
that's a thinking man's
Sutter
Rocky
Kane.
How the hell do you remember any name from Rocky V other than Rocky or Adrian?
In the same way that. This is my first time seeing this movie, and I'll never forget the name Sutter Kane.
Sutter
Kane. So bogus.
It's so dumb.
It's such a bogus name.
So you see this. So it was shot in Toronto, and so they went in on a Sunday, and they actually printed up a bunch of these books. I would love to have. It's the Hobbs End Horror is the book that's being printed by an author called Sutter Kane. It's supposed to sound like Stephen King.
It's a silly name.
This movie is just chock-a-block with Cthulhu references.
Right.
One of which is the Hobbs End Horror, which is one of his short stories.
Oh, really?
So
I didn't know that.
All of the books written by Sutter Kane is.
So he stole the title from.
He changed it a little bit,
right?
I think it was like the Hobbs Creek Terror or whatever when it was H.P. Lovecraft.
Right.
So you have this opening credit sequence. Tonally, they hit you hard and fast with some very Metallica sounding wank rock. Mm-hmm. But it's disjointed because you're watching a bunch of books being printed, and it's like wow. Here's the author about the author.
A lot of books.
Quiet Riot.
Come on, feel the noise. Slade didn't chart with that song.
Not in America.
The movie is set in a world of publishing.
Yes.
So we're in for
exciting
a
world of
wild time. It's like
of bookmaking.
You may as well just see like an eraser factory or something. And pencils. It turns out so this character Sutter Kane, who's the Stephen King-like author of a gazillion horror novels and so on, has gone missing. And now is that how it starts?
It starts with Sam Neill like frothing at the mouth. He kicks a.
Yes.
He's being hauled into a mental institution. John Glover's there with a crazy hairdo, always smiling. He's the guy that looks crazy.
Full on Eraserhead hairdo.
Yeah. And I, when I was watching, I was like, wow, straight jackets look really uncomfortable. Have you guys ever been in one?
I have.
I have too.
Yeah.
But
the same one. I can't believe you forgot.
That's another story. But he's hauled in there. He's fighting the guards. He kicks one of them in the balls.
Really hard,
and then apologizes for kicking him in the balls a little bit later.
Yeah. Once he gets thrown into the cell.
Thrown into a cell.
So This movie has quite a few of these little character actors.
I know. I actually wrote. I saw John Glover and then David Warner, Charlton Heston.
David Warner.
Awesome.
Okay, now first of all, sorry, what was the first guy again?
John Glover.
Not Donald Glover. John Glover, who many listeners will know as the Trump-like figure in Gremlins 2: The New Batch.
That's right. That's right.
Back when Trump was like this harmless goofball millionaire idiot.
Yeah.
And he's in everything. You know, he's one of those guys.
He's
right?
one of those guys. Same with David Warner. It's like, I've seen that guy in 1,000 movies. I
David
don't know
Warner.
his name. Yeah.
I mean, most people will know him from Titanic as the henchman.
Was he the henchman?
He was the henchman, and he was also the embodiment of evil in Time Bandits.
He also gets decapitated in The Omen, Pane of Glass, and he's also he's the village idiot in Straw Dogs. The Peckinpah original that starts the whole chain of events.
Oh, haven't seen that movie in a long time.
Warner, he's a fascinating actor.
And here's the thing, like John Carpenter, I think he's beloved by film fans largely because he himself seems like he just loves to make movies.
Yeah.
So
this was back in his heyday too. I guess his heyday.
Right at the end of his heyday.
Maybe the end of his heyday. I guess his heyday was probably Halloween to about here, like 77 to about. Well, it's a pretty good heyday.
I gotta say, Big
20.
Trouble in Little China was probably his heyday.
The Thing,
or They Live.
Or The Thing.
They Live. No.
The Thing was a bomb, though.
The Thing was 82.
They all bombed.
But They
That's true.
Live.
He never had
Well,
a big
Escape
hit.
from New York was a sizable hit.
Then he did Escape from L.A.
Well, that was years later.
Yeah.
That was like mid to late 90s when he did Escape
Yeah, I
from
think that the three that he did in the Month of Madness, They Live, and Prince of Darkness, sort of were the end of his.
Yeah, They Live was first, then Prince of Darkness.
He
also did, but before this, he did a movie I've never seen and always wanted to. Memoirs of an Invisible Man. It's a Chevy Chase movie.
I've seen it. I've been trying to find it for years.
Find.
I don't even have it on my old dusty VHS collection.
Get back to the movie. So
he's been committed. So he gets thrown into the loony bin.
Right.
I suppose it's an insensitive way to put it, but it's the loony bin.
It's the way they present it.
So it's more of a nut house. It's more of a nut house.
It's
than a
very
loony bin.
stylized.
And they throw him in, they slam the door,
complete
and then
with lightning.
And then the doctor, John Glover, in his with his huge eraser head hair, puts on "It's Only Just Begun" by the Carpenter.
It's also it's hinting at there's something else going on.
Yeah.
Like there's hinting that there's some sort of something else outside of the mental institution, that society's falling apart or something is happening. Like some sort of apocalypse or something that's going on.
It seemed really weird to me, but now that I think about that, and this is what I find so interesting about this movie. You can call it Deus Ex Machina, whatever, but it does work once you know the twists and once you know what the overall, I guess, story and concept is. It makes, because I was like, why is he playing any music? And it's like, it's a little too perfect, and it's like, oh, there's a reason it's a little too perfect, but which we'll get to at the end.
Also, it's not the Carpenter's original recording; it's a
that.
Muzak. I know you know that, but
Yeah.
it was just interesting that he does call it out as Carpenter's, even though it's Muzak.
It's funny. I wrote here. I love
They
the
didn't
Carpenter's
write it
synth
either.
music, and I think, but that's not about the Carpenter's music. It's John Carpenter's music.
the Carpenters.
It's heavy, man.
By the way, Paul Williams wrote that song, and it was originally written as a jingle for a bank.
For a bank.
It originally appeared in the public consciousness as a bank commercial, and then the Carpenters loved it so much they were like, they went to the writer. He's like, "Oh yeah, I have all these unused lyrics," so they recorded.
He was a good songwriter back in the day. That Paul Williams. It's a big one.
And you don't, at this point, you don't know if he's nuts or if bad shit is actually afoot. You assume bad shit is actually afoot. And then this figure visits him in his cell when he's in a straitjacket, and then Sam Neill says this is a lousy way to end it, and then the figure says it's not over yet. You haven't read it yet. So that's how the movie starts.
Right. Yeah. That's it's because you don't know what's going on. It's a little confusing, but that's okay.
Like it's bad shit happening because he's refusing to read whatever it is. And
Whatever
what
it
is
is.
it? And you know, so at this point I'm in. I'm hooked.
It does grip you right from the beginning.
I love the opening, and I loved the super stylized so-called loony bin, and I don't want to sound insensitive using that description, but it's the very stylized, scary, old-time movie-looking mental institution.
It even has the lightning flashing and the thunder crashing.
The lightning flash, the thunder crash, and it's like, it's old school, and it's also just, I found it hooked me immediately.
Yeah. It was shot in a water treatment facility in the outskirts of Toronto.
Someone did their research.
I did my research this time. I bothered to. I listened to the director's commentary.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah, because everything was very big and bright and white, and it was just off-putting.
Right.
So then David Warner makes an appearance. And
Right.
David Warner, now what was he? Was he a cop? What was his deal?
I can't remember David Warner. I just remember him showing up and saying some things.
Yeah, which is a complete waste of David Warner.
Yeah.
Because he's such a great actor.
Yeah, he wasn't in it very much.
But he shows up to visit Sam Neill, and this made me laugh. So as he's being taken to Sam Neill's cell, David Warner asks the doctor, he says, did he request anything? And the doctor kind of giggles and says, all he wanted was a single black crayon, right? And then you go into the cell. It's a padded cell. And I got to say, Sam Neill has made that crayon go a long way, because every square inch is covered in upside down crosses.
All kinds of crosses, kinds of weird.
And his face and body are covered in.
I love that his back was. Like his back, his shirt was all covered.
I didn't
even
notice that.
His whole. I was like, how did he get who did his back for him?
Yeah,
I didn't even notice that.
I loved all that,
and his face. There's no mirror in there. So.
And I did laugh when he made the line about the crown. But here's the thing: right from the get-go with this movie, I found it wickedly funny. I laughed a lot during this movie, and it wasn't at the movie at all. This movie for me.
Because you're enjoying it.
Yeah, really a lot so. And I found there was a level at times where this movie struck me. I'm not joking here. And again, this is my first time seeing it. It reminded me of the first time I saw Evil Dead 2. Like, I was taken back. I expected something much more straightforward horror movie, and it was way more slapstick and funny than I expected. And I loved the crayon line. I laughed at it too, but it was like, this movie's really, really fun.
Well, it wasn't even the crayon. It was just like, how did he possibly get that much mileage out of one crayon?
Oh, well, there's that, too, in the next shot. But the movie,
I would have asked
again,
for a Sharpie. Like, there's way more ink.
Oh, that's going to run out of
ink.
ink.
It wanted you.
Yeah,
like,
but the crayons, it's tiny.
Carpenter knew damn well when he was getting that set decorated the way it was. When he gave the approval, crayon. It was like, there was a level of absurdity, and I think that scene, without saying too much now, when we finish talking about this movie completely, I think we'll agree, like, the absurdity of that scene, the impossibility of that scene, makes perfect sense. Yeah, I was, at this point in the movie, I was already getting a Sam Raimi, John Landis even kind of.
Well, like an American Werewolf in London kind of fun.
Well, a real wink at the camera. And there was definitely moments where he's like waking up from a dream, and reminded me
I
of
love that.
Oh, me too. That scene when he kept waking.
Oh, and by the way, can we just for a second talk about how good an actor Sam Neill is?
Huge fan, actually, of Sam Neill. And here's something a lot of people don't know about him. Sam Neill, he's the best James Bond that never was.
Oh,
he auditioned to take over from Roger Moore. You can find it on YouTube. It's on the DVD, I believe, of The Living Daylights, or it could be also on the DVD of A View to a Kill, which was Moore's last. But they definitely show people who auditioned to replace Roger Moore. Sam Neill gives a completely convincing audition, and right around that time, who, by the way, was passed over by the role in favor of Timothy Dalton. But
I like Dalton.
That's all right. The next scene is that after the mental institution, he's in an office. It's sort of I guess it's gone back to telling us how he got there.
Because he's telling David Warner his.
Okay, I just gonna say. He cleans up well. He looks really good when he's not crazy in a straitjacket. And the thing is, he's a bit of a jerk in this movie. You're still rooting for him the whole thing. There's times I go, wow, what a fucking jerk. Why'd he do that? Why'd he say that? Who would do that?
So we see him in his prime now. We see him at the office. He knows his fucking job. He's the best insurance investigator in the business.
Yeah, he's walking the talk. He's the cock of the walk, or whatever the expression is.
So, and his boss is like, "You're the shit, buddy."
Who's his boss?
No, but it's not his boss.
Oh,
I know who you're thinking of.
Yes.
His boss sends him to the publishing company,
right?
Where he meets the CEO, played by none other than, you want to say it?
Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes.
Yes. Charlton Heston, Chuck Heston.
Marky Wahlberg?
The Omega Man himself.
Omega Man, yes.
And that is such an inspired casting choice, because I fucking adore Charlton Heston.
I like him. I like him on screen. I'm sure. Well, when he was alive, he was a dick. But
I don't care about his NRA bullshit. I don't like him as a human being.
No. But yeah, no, it's always a pleasure to watch him on screen because he's a bit of a ham. He's tends to overact. He's got that giant head, that big square jaw.
Everything is so serious. And what I didn't,
That's pretty good.
And see, this is thank you. This is where
I thought Charlton Heston was in the room with us for a sec.
I did not realize the ironic value of having Charlton Heston in this movie because he Soylent Green, Omega Man,
Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
You know, the guy,
Ten Commandments.
Ten Commandments. Earthquake.
Well, not so much with Ten Commandments. But
was he Ben-Hur as well?
He was Ben-Hur, yes.
All right.
But there's a certain gravitas that he brings to a corny and cheesy production. Like he just has that. And so when you see Charlton Heston in The Mouth of Madness, all of a sudden you kind of relax a bit and go, we're in good hands.
I'm thinking I wouldn't mind being in The Mouth of Madness if Chuck's there.
Yeah, if he's there, we'll hang out, we'll shoot some guns.
How bad could it be?
Yeah, it's cold. His hands are a bit cold and dead, but otherwise.
Pry that gun out of them.
So what happens? What does Charlton Heston?
He says he sends him on a quest.
Oh, what is his job? He's the CEO of this
publishing company. Who Sutter Kane, the book, the Hobnobs Goblin, whatever, the Hobnob Goblin.
Hobnobs are delicious, by the way.
And anyways, he's gone missing, and for some reason he hires an insurance agent to find him. So
I think there's an insurance claim involved.
There's an insurance claim if he's dead.
If he's dead, the company I believe has the life insurance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the life insurance,
which is common for high-profile clients.
And what's crucial to the plot is that Sutter Kane has gone missing with the manuscript that only a couple of people
for his
have
new
read.
book. And the people that have read it have gone insane.
The very few people. So what Sam Neill learns when he goes to visit Charlton Heston, his assistant Styles.
He gets attacked before meeting them, right?
I don't think so.
No.
Her name's Julie Carmen, by the way.
Why do they call her Styles then?
That's the actress.
I'm saying her character. No, her character is Styles.
I'm aware of that. The actor's name.
I didn't think you were an idiot. I thought Darren
Julie
was an idiot.
I'm not an idiot. I knew her name was Styles.
No, well, anyways, Julie Carmen. At any rate,
she was excellent.
I thought she was terrific.
Yeah.
So Styles and Charlton Heston reveal to Sam Neill that
what was Sam Neill's character's name?
It was John J. Trent.
Trent, right?
Trent.
Yeah.
They reveal to Trent that Sutter Kane, he's got 7 or 8 books.
He's more popular than Stephen King. They kept hammering that home. More popular than Stephen King.
Yeah,
I was actually surprised they threw the Stephen King name out there. I didn't, just because movies like this with fake authors to throw a real one in there.
Yeah, especially when the guy's name is
Sutter Kane. Yeah.
So Sutter Kane's books have a power over readers, and so if you're kind of a moron, you might go nuts if you read one of it. That's how well written these fucking things are.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's off having lunch with his friend. Who's he having lunch with?
He's having lunch with I don't
some
even
guy.
know.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Like a private investigator.
But then they're having lunch at a nice restaurant.
Oh, his boss. He's having lunch with his boss.
Right.
Because his boss is blowing smoke up his ass and saying, "You are the best.
Yeah, you should do this.
This is not expository at all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to tell you, you are the best at your job, and I'm so glad I hired you.
You know what? You're better than Stephen King is at his job.
And that's why we're having lunch in this diner in Toronto.
Yeah, but from across the street emerges from a video store. If you had noticed,
was it a video store?
Yeah, so we had a big video sign right above the door. Some dude carrying an axe, looking kind of crazy, and
zombie-like.
He's kind of zombie-like, and then nobody notices the havoc he's causing on the street. I think he's swinging his axe around.
Oh no, people on the street notice. But Sam Neill and his boss
who are just
enjoying their tuna melt as though nothing's happening.
Was that Bernie Casey? Was that who his boss was? Bernie Casey, I think, possibly. Because I remember there's another name. I go, hey, that's Bernie Casey.
I just really loved that scene. I thought, again, the movie was being wickedly funny in that moment. But that's so true, though, because I've even witnessed... I've been in a situation once where I witnessed...
An axe guy coming at you?
No. But witnessed a pretty bad car accident at an intersection of me and other people stopped, but a few people kept walking completely oblivious, and I honestly don't think they were ignoring it.
Well,
it's just the over-simulation of any busy
when he got right
street.
to the window,
Yeah.
he was like at the window.
Yeah,
standing
but
on the table.
still,
People
if you're
ran away
really-
at the window.
It still worked for me right up until that last minute. It was direct. Yes.
So in the shot, it's a very impressively choreographed scene.
Yeah.
I loved it.
So
yeah.
in the forefront, Sam Neill and Bernie Casey are sitting there discussing what a great investigator Sam Neill is, and they're right next to a window facing the street. And across the street, there's a video store. This lunatic emerges with an axe. People on the street are screaming and running
What was
away.
he doing in the video store with the axe?
Late
charges.
I'm just. It's all one shot. It never cuts away. This lunatic with the axe gets closer and closer and closer and closer to the window, and these are it's almost comical. The only two people not to notice are the targets of this lunatic with the axe.
Yeah.
I found it completely comical. You were saying almost comical. I think I was laughing out loud during the scene and in a good way along with the movie because I found it so satirical. Like, these two dudes are so busy schmoozing one another.
Blowing smoke
and
up each other's ass.
blowing smoke up each other's ass. And
literally.
Like, this movie was so much more humorous than I expected it to be. And yeah, this scene in particular really worked for me, and I really started to love the movie at this moment.
So Axeman walks right up to the window, and he just smashes
the window and freaks everyone out.
Yeah.
And then he shouts to Sam Neill, "Have you read Sutter Kane?"
He jumps up on the table, and he's about to kill Sam Neill, or John Trent
Reznor.
And he's got and this is where Sam looks in his eyes and he sees that he's got like 8 irises. He's like got like it's like 2 inverted what do you call it, like an infinity symbol, I guess. Some people, when they read Sutter Kane, their eyes get this weird like infinity symbol kind of.
You know what would have been cool if they had like computer graphics of little like swirly things going.
So this fucking nut job ruins the tuna melt. He's
standing
there in the tuna melt with an axe.
Like, how do you go back to eating after that?
And he says to Sam Neill, he says, "Do you read Sutter Kane?" And the voice is all weird.
Well, the voice it was done in post, obviously, because it sounded so like terrible.
Well, they do that a lot, like deliberately. Like there's.
Well, I don't know if it was deliberate. I think probably when they were filming it, it just didn't work out with the sound or whatever, and they had to redo it, dub it in the studio afterwards or whatever.
Shitty Toronto crews. They don't know what they're doing.
Or maybe that guy didn't speak English. Maybe the guy that they got to the axe guy, who knows? Maybe it's like John Carpenter's
but by the way, there is
something.
an actor in this movie who either doesn't speak English or speaks English very poorly, but he turns up later in the film. Okay, so what happens after that?
The cops blow him away.
Oh yeah.
The cops shoot him, and he said,
which actually shocked me because the build-up, the way that the scene unfolded, I thought was so well done. That of course it makes sense. Yeah, you just shoot him, but I was like, holy fuck. You know,
I knew that he was going to get shot.
Neil's going to get the axe. I didn't think he'd get shot, or at least roll out of the way.
Yeah,
it was getting like.
Well, because as I said, I've seen it before, but I forgot basically everything in this movie until I watched it again the other night, and a lot of scenes came back to me, and that one did, and I knew he was going to get shot.
There's people rioting now.
But why are people rioting? Because the book's already out, right? Like his new book's not out.
Well, because they're insane from reading his other books.
But they're not putting.
But this is.
But he compares these riots, and you see cops beating people and people turning cars over, and he goes, and Sam Neill looks at this in the news, and then he says to Charlton Heston, "Oh, it's just a publicity stunt." You know,
there's a theme running through the whole movie.
He compares it to the hula hoop. He's like, "Yeah, this is just like the hula hoop." Like,
but look up Cabbage Patch.
Well, you guys remember
Cabbage Patch Kids had brawls between parents.
Well, you remember the hula hoop riots of '65?
I do. They went in circles. They went for hours.
But Cabbage Patch Kids, I mean, they're doing. Obviously, it's spoofing the Cabbage Patch Kids in the early '80s. Wasn't quite riots as presented in this movie, but there were major news reports about parents duking it out.
But the funny thing that I found at this point is, and this is a theme that goes through the whole movie, is Sam Neill's rejection of any of this being real. The whole thing's a publicity stunt. It's all to sell the books. And he even goes so far as saying that this guy getting shot after smashing through the window with an axe coming out of a video store is a publicity stunt. Like that's it's a little bit of a stretch. You know, you gotta maybe some point. This is not. They're not. It's not a publicity stunt.
So that's what I like about his character is that the crazier it gets, the more he's just like, this is just a more elaborate.
Well, I guess it kind of makes sense the way things turn out in the end. But when I'm watching it, I'm going, dude, like this. Like, there's a point when this is like it's a big ruse to be putting on you. Just for a publicity stunt, just to make
like
you think.
Shooting a guy.
Like shooting a guy.
That's a good point. And also, you got to wonder, because they stated as a matter of fact, okay, there's two things that come up that always surprise me, was exactly how famous this Sutter Kane guy is. Because everywhere, this guy is fucking everywhere.
Did you just go into a cave there?
I did. I went to the video cave.
The video cave.
Where we keep the Canadian films.
He went into the Sutter Cave.
Whoa.
Really?
Don't ever say that again.
Anyways, so, no, it's like, Sutter Kane, like, okay, now Stephen King is, okay, in this movie, I guess Sutter Kane is that much bigger than Stephen King. Because I never see buses with just Stephen King on the side. Yeah. But everywhere. There's fucking posters. At one point, they go into an alley, and there's Sutter Kane posters in the alley.
Well, that was that weird scene. Like, this is when things start to go off the rails a bit for Sam Neill. Before he goes to, gets in the car and goes to try and find him, there's a scene in the alley, and there's a poster, there's a lot of posters of Sutter Kane, and he starts picking at it. And I didn't understand what was going on there. And then he goes around the corner, and there's a cop beating a guy.
Beating the living shit out of this guy.
Like some fucking hippie, you know.
And this isn't even, by the way, I'm pretty sure this is the next... No. It's after he starts actually reading Sutter Kane.
Oh, that's right. Right, you're right.
So Sam Neill is...
And he goes home and he reads like 4 books in one night or something like that.
Yeah, he's Bill Cosby speed reading.
Does Bill Cosby speed read?
Remember Bill Cosby had the speed reading program in the 80s?
No. Was that a bit of his?
It was probably to make you fall asleep. Like, keep reading fast.
So
you get tired,
I'm
fall
gonna
asleep.
rape you.
Yeah.
That's okay to say, right?
Anyways,
was he a hero of yours?
So,
I know you're a comedian. Was he? Were you a Bob?
In fact, I have been on other podcasts where I have fervently, passionately defended how little funny I find. Doesn't make sense.
Little funny? How
unfunny I find Bill Cosby. And I've been like all 3 other comics on the panel are like, you're crazy, he's a genius. And I was like, guys, never made me laugh even once.
Not even during the Cosby Show?
I don't think the with the cigar is funny. I never found. Anyways, so what happens after the guy gets shot? So he goes.
Yeah, he starts reading the books, and then he has an encounter in the alley with the guy. The cop says something cryptic to him.
Well, there's this good bit. Actually, there's a good bit when he's reading.
I wrote it down.
He's reading the Sutter Kane novel, and he's talking to his agent or somebody, or he's talking to his boss or something, and he says like, "Yeah, it's trashy, but."
It's well written.
It's well written. It kind of affects you a bit, and that's the first bit. Like it's. I do love the slow burn of Sam Neill. Like, when he goes fucking nuts, like, you believe that he has reason to go nuts. Because at every single stage, he has been resistant and rational
through the whole movie. It's a scam. It's all a setup. It's all publicity for his new book.
That's right. So he's reading a book, and I think he has a Does he fall asleep? And is this where we have the dream in a dream?
Well, because all of a sudden he's back in the alley and he's poking at the poster and he goes around the corner and the cop's beating the guy, but the cop's not a cop. He's like this grotesque pig man.
Okay, well, no, there's 2 dreams. Wait a minute, hold on. When he first saw the cop beating the guy up, was that a dream or was that reality?
I think that was reality.
Okay, so in reality, he's walking home one day and he sees this guy getting the snot beaten out of him by this cop in this alley. And there are Sutter Kane posters everywhere.
Yeah,
and then he goes home.
Because the best place to advertise is in an alley, for books, movies, whatever. Yeah.
I've been to the downtown east side a million times.
Well, I'm just picturing the guy who's doing the posters. Like, fuck this! I'm just going to put these posters up here. There's a space right here.
Like when you're a kid and you're supposed to deliver flyers, you just dump them into the fucking ravine.
Exactly, into the river. Yeah.
Anyways, so then he goes. Yeah, so then he has a dream, and. God, this seems so sporadic, but I'm pretty sure this is actually how the story goes. He has a dream, and this time the cop...
He's like a deformed, gross pig man.
Horrible pig monster man. Yeah, he looks like Steve Bannon. in a cop uniform.
On a good day.
It could have been Steve Bannon, actually. And then he starts pulling the poster away again, and this time I think he sees his own face.
Was it him? Because it was hard to tell, because it was like an advertisement for some. He didn't pull it completely away because you weren't too sure what it is.
Yeah.
But then he has a dream within a dream.
Yeah.
Because he wakes up, and then the pig man's beside him on the couch. And
yeah. And then he wakes up, and I was like, "Do it again, please."
Yeah, one more time.
Nobody ever goes for the triple whammy, the waking up.
Yeah.
Like nobody ever does that.
Was there a triple whammy in that movie? Or
No,
was it just a double whammy?
It was just a double whammy.
Do you remember how many whammies there were there, Alex?
I don't remember,
Yeah.
but
it was a double.
I loved they each one of them tripped me out.
It's the best. It is the best. I always fucking fall for it too. He looks at he's got all of Sutter Kane's books.
Mm-hmm.
He's this is where he's reading the book and he's talking to whoever, and he's like, "No, it's just I'll figure it out. This is a grift in the system. It's a ripoff. I'm sure it is." He has like all 6 of his books, and he sees something in them, and he starts cutting.
Oh yeah, he makes a nice collage.
He makes this collage, and he calls it a map, and I'm like, "But
I know, how the fuck is that a map? And what does it even look like? It doesn't look like anything. How do you know where to cut?
Made no sense to me.
Yeah.
How
Made
we
no
figured
sense.
that out.
No.
But that's not a complaint on my part.
No, me either. Not a big deal.
It made no sense to me, but it kind of made sense.
So he's looking at these. Imagine you've got 6 Stephen King novels on your desk, and they've all got like these weird paintings.
I know. I'll make a map out of the covers.
No, but there's no map.
There isn't.
There's nothing that resembles. He just cuts the
randomly.
fucking covers up randomly and glues them together, and he goes, "Guess what? It's actually a map leading to this non-existent town in the middle of fucking Nebraska, Hobbs End."
Yeah, Hobbs End, yes. But you look at it, there's nothing. It's just a bunch of like a 6-year-old glued a bunch of shit together.
Exactly.
And it still worked for me, though. It really did. It made no sense. But at the same time, I kind of was like, okay, this movie, the way the film ended.
Give it away eventually.
Yeah, we will. So. But the way the film ties things together, it makes sense to me that a lot of stuff early on doesn't seem to make sense.
Yes.
If that makes any sense.
No. Wait. No. Okay, hold on. As long as we're talking about nonsensical sense making.
You watched this film and you thought he's some random Joe? No way. I knew already he was
a superstar.
Big damn deal.
Wait a minute.
But in the insurance racket, in the insurance game.
That he was going to figure.
Because he's integral to the story?
Larger. Yeah, well, not even that. It just still made sense for me, the direction this film eventually went in. It's like stuff that I was scratching my head over earlier.
I thought it was a bit of a leap of faith, but I was on board with it.
But at the same time, we're talking about a movie where this guy, even by this point, it made sense to me because we're talking about a film where he's dragged into a mental institution in the very beginning. And he's sitting down with David Warner, and the whole discussion's along the lines of, let me tell you how I got here. It still made sense to me, even if he was just losing his marbles and cutting stuff. Before I realized he was putting together a map, it more or less reminded me of the old cliche where someone's cutting up the bats, like the endless bat cutouts, like a crazy person.
He's got the map, and him and Styles are hitting the road to go find Sutter Kane and Hobbs, and wherever they're. The hobnoblin goblin.
I thought the two of them had great chemistry from the beginning.
And this leads about one of my favorite scenes in the movie when they're driving. She's sound asleep. They're driving. They're lost. And then he looks around and he wants to wake her up. So what does he do? He reaches in the glove box. And for some reason, there's a horn in the glove box.
An air horn, yeah.
I wish it was an air horn.
It wasn't an air horn.
No, if it was an air horn, it would have been hilarious because air horns are insanely loud.
True.
But it's just one of those ones where you squeeze and go.
And she wakes up furious. I can't believe you blew a horn when I was sleeping in your car.
But you know what? I loved it. That moment totally worked.
That endears you to the character.
Because I actually wrote down.
Both of them.
When I watched that scene, I actually wrote here, he's a jerk. Because he's a total jerk. Only a jerk would do that.
No. I would have written, he has been a jerk up until this point. But yeah, he's all right. Like anybody who gives a horn in his glove compartment of a rental car.
She's ultimately she calls him out on being a jerk, but she's not like totally freaked out about it. Like I like the fact that she's kind of used to the fact that he would blow a horn already. Like
Well, she
she's
was pissed
gotten
off.
well, she was pissed off, and rightfully so.
Nobody
but
wants to be woken up
still
like
a
that.
good sport
Do well.
about it. It
Well,
was like
she threw chips at him. At this point, they're still not in Crazy Town yet.
No,
right?
It's getting dark, and then she's driving,
And now
because he's asleep.
Yeah, he's asleep.
He's conveniently asleep. But this scene kind of annoyed me. You know, you see the oncoming strips on the road.
Yeah, there's
in the middle of the
no
road.
other cars.
And then you see some reflecting lights coming up, and there's a kid riding a bike in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
which is really creepy.
Yeah.
Very
kids are
creepy.
creepy. Kids riding bikes are kind of creepy, and kids riding bikes in the middle of the night, in the
Late
middle of
at
nowhere,
night.
are really
Yeah,
creepy.
yeah.
And so she passes him, and he looks at her, and they don't really. I don't think she says anything, and they keep going, and then a few seconds later, he's passing him again, but he's a old man riding the bike.
And old men are creepy.
Yeah.
Especially long, stringy. And you know what?
Yeah.
I gotta think maybe. I'm wondering if there's a link between this and Twin Peaks, because he had a very Bob-like quality. He wore denim.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
but
and
to look
also-
but to me, he looked like a kid in an old man mask.
And-
Like the makeup was pretty,
yeah, but it was by design. It was made to look that kind of dream quality. It wasn't supposed to be a big monster eating the earth.
No,
It's
I wouldn't
like
think it was a monster, but if they made it
but
actually
it
look like an old man, or maybe got an
No,
old
but
man.
I think it was aiming for surreal, kind of dream-like. And it's kind of bogus looking. It's a dream quality. I thought that really worked. Like, it had to be like a monster that's going to be chasing them the whole
No, it was
movie.
cool. That's what I loved about it.
that.
I thought it was great. So she passed him again. He says something as they ride by. It's
Yeah, what was it?
She says, "He won't let me leave."
Oh yeah, and that was super creepy.
That was super creepy. And then the next thing, she runs over him, and
flies over the hood.
still Samuel's still asleep.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so he was conveniently asleep.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like one of those convenient being asleep kind of things, because she was
not at all.
experienced.
They're taking turns.
Well,
He
she
woke her up
she was
earlier.
experienced the creepy weirdness. As soon as I saw the kid in the bike, I'm like, there's a kid in the bike. Like, it's the middle of the night. Wake up, Samuel.
Hey, where's that horn?
Yeah, where's get the horn out?
Yeah, true.
So now we're getting into.
I loved her eye work in these scenes, by the way.
Yeah.
The look of terror she gave off. Yeah.
So they get out of the car, and then the bike's laying there. He's all twisted on the ground, and it's weird because she goes to the bike, and she looks at the bike, and all of a sudden he's not there, and he's behind her, and then he's riding off again.
Yeah.
Like it was just
Because Sutter Kane won't let him leave.
No, it was really cool and really creepy. And I was saying to Alex earlier, I don't remember much about this movie from when I first watched it. But then as soon as that happened, it's like, oh yeah, the kid on the bike is so creepy.
Oh, then she gets back in the car, and then they're driving along, and the road falls away, and she's flying through she rolls the window down. Again, Sam Neill's
Oh,
like that.
I love that scene too.
Great
yeah, yeah. She doesn't say anything to him.
Yeah.
She looks down, and there's like sky and
There's like
the
clouds
cars, so it
beneath
was
the
awesome.
car.
Yeah.
And I think she's about to say something, and then all of a sudden they wind up on that covered bridge.
Yeah. They go through the covered bridge.
They go
It's
over
like
the
some
covered
weird
bridge.
time tunnel kind of thing.
Now the covered bridge, so it has been night when they're flying,
And then all of a sudden,
it's
Shazam!
daylight.
Yeah.
Boom! It's like it's the morning.
They're
and
in
in
Hobbs
Hobbs
Creek?
End.
Hobbs End.
Hobbs End. They're in Calvin and
And,
Hobbs.
and then Sam Neill wakes up like, oh, we're here. And of course, it's a bit of a creepy town. There's nobody around, and they go to the I don't know how they knew that there's a hotel or an inn, because it's pretty hard to find.
He actually says there are lots there. Oh, come on. There are plenty of forgotten towns across America. And, like, even in 95, I don't think there are any...
No.
Anyway, he goes...
What does that mean, forgotten
He goes,
town?
well, there's no Hobbs End on this map, right? He goes, well, a new map, yeah, but maybe an old map. There's plenty of forgotten towns in America. So his suggestion is that places just cease to exist from maps with every printing of the map of the United States of America.
They do.
No, they don't.
Not quite the way you're spoofing it right now.
That's spoofing. It's what he
towns
said.
get renamed.
Yeah, but they don't
Boundaries
disappear.
They don't cease to exist.
Unless
hey, look on a modern map right now. Do you see the word Soviet Union?
Oh,
that could disappear. Sure as fuck a town
It didn't disappear. It just had a different name.
Yeah, but that's all he means. That's all
That's
he
not
means.
what
It's
I
not
don't know.
called that now.
I didn't get that.
No,
at all.
That's the thing
Alex,
I got
you are
too.
so wrong about this one.
No, not at all, man.
I know you're defensive
You've
about your
been right
precious
about other
in the
things,
mouth
but-
of...
No,
This is the most
again.
contentious episode we've done yet.
I love it.
No, but seriously,
Again, it worked for me. I know, and he was also too. I'm expecting obsessive, over-the-top behavior from this guy. This
Not what he's supposed to be.
skepticism.
This is not what he's. No,
but we're talking about a guy who's ended up in a mental institution.
Yeah, but he's not there yet.
He's there in the opening scene.
At this point,
yeah, we know he ends up there.
I know that.
But the thing is, he's not nuts.
The story begins there. I know that, but I'm still expecting.
I still don't think he's nuts.
I'm still expecting over-the-top behavior.
There are not plenty.
Fair enough.
He says plenty. His quote: "Plenty of forgotten towns across America." There are not plenty of forgotten towns.
How do you forget a town? It's if the people are still living there.
I'm pretty sure
it's still a town.
I'm pretty sure the tax bureau.
Yeah, but he's talking about towns that have been
renamed
or are ghost towns.
But he didn't say
Jindabyne. Hey, man. You love that movie, Jindabyne?
I do like that movie.
That movie, and there's a town that ended up underwater. Oh. I think it said a lot. I really thought that was a plausible.
No, okay.
Sorry, I opened a can of worms.
Anyways, let's put the lid on those worms.
So now
we'll eat them later, maybe after we're done.
It's such a creepy town. It's
not that creepy. It's just abandoned.
Yeah, that's what's so creepy about it.
There's leaves blowing all over the place. Although even like when they're driving, Sam Neill's still not buying it. You know, they're in this town that there's nobody in.
Well, it's spoofing. What's the famous fictional town of Stephen King's? Was
Castle Rock is Castle Rock. Place,
no, I don't think it is.
I think it is.
No, I think he has a lot. All of his stories basically take place in Maine or close to New England.
Well,
but Castle Rock is the main one.
It takes place in Derry.
And I also thought too. Well, I know that, but it's like
Salem's Lot takes place in Salem's Lot.
Well, of course. No, I mean I know there's real, but it's. But I just mean it's sort of spoofing that thing as well, and it's also about I think Sam Neill's figuring out a composite of characters.
Mm.
Anyway, so they're driving around and they check into the hotel, right?
They check in the hotel with the creepy old lady. And for some reason, I wrote down that Sam Neill hates antiques. He's aghast at all the antiques in the place. He hates antiques. Yeah, it's like
I don't quite remember that.
I do. I wrote it down, so I must. Maybe I dreamt it. I don't know.
The painting. I remember he had a.
The painting was fucking awesome. I love the painting.
I love the painting.
For me in movies, there's a movie called Shudder. I think it's a Thai horror film, and it's about photographs that when you look at it, they change. And to me, that's always freaked me out in movies. It's always terrifying. And so when that painting, they would change. Like there'd be when she'd turn around and look at it, and it'd be a different scene. The people would be different poses.
Yeah,
I
hate that.
So
it's
creepy.
So scary.
There's an episode of Night Gallery as well from the 70s with Roddy McDowell commits murder, and then a painting in the house that he's murdered to get control of.
It's like the picture of Dorian Gray.
Changing. It's like the guy's coming back from the grave to get him, and he sees it changing.
Oh, really? That's cool.
That's a Night Gallery, and it reminded me of that.
Yeah.
But as the movie unfolds, this particular painting in the lobby of the hotel just gets more and more fucked up.
And he still thinks it's a scam. He still thinks everything's a scam.
At this point, it still could be a scam.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not until he's presented with.
It's a long way to go for a scam or for some publicity.
But seriously, there's a tradition, especially in film noir, where there are super convoluted scams. Or even, I thought of again, this movie was so self-reflexive about movies and stuff like this too. I'm thinking, okay, this character, John Trent, has watched The Sting. Now, I don't mean to ruin The Sting for anyone out there, but where there's these super elaborate scams.
I love the long con. I didn't
feel this movie was going in that direction. Like, I totally thought this movie was going to go directly into something insane. But watching this, I'm thinking to myself, this guy is someone who's like, yeah, if in his world as a fictional character, he could have seen The Sting. Or I think there's actually even a tradition in movies,
the thing is,
Vertigo, where there's a ridiculous scam.
I don't even think that, because I think just because the nature of his work. The nature of his work, he comes up with people who are trying to scam him all the time, so he thinks it's a scam. But there's a point where you gotta stop me when she turns around and says and if you look out the window, there's a giant castle with a big black castle with golden teats on the top or something.
So at this point, she is convinced that they are actually in a Sutter Kane novel.
Yeah, she's.
He thinks it's a scam. And it's interesting because at the beginning of their relationship, she doesn't like smoking.
There's a lot of smoking. There's a lot
but there's so much smoke that there was a film noir-like quality to the suit and the smoking in the office and
smoking everywhere.
Especially that early scene where he's exposing the fraud committed by the first guy. That's totally a film.
Did any of you guys think of Double Indemnity in that scene?
I didn't.
Not that specifically,
it's
but
one of my
that
favorite
era.
movies, and I didn't think.
Because I was like the smoking plus the I'm an insurance, I'm an insurance guy and all that. Like I was like, oh, he's like Fred. What's his name in
Fred McMurray.
He's like Fred McMurray.
God, I love that movie.
You like the hoppy?
I'll have one of those.
Oh, okay.
Thanks. The Pilsner's not really that hoppy.
Again, it was like.
It's like we have our period at the same time. We're all drinking beer at the same time. Yeah, we've been working together a lot.
It's exactly the same.
It's exactly the same.
So smoke. What the hell were we talking about?
Anyways, let's get back to the movie here. So they've seen the giant castle church thing.
Oh right, yeah.
And so they're on their way there. And they go there, and this is when we're introduced to Sutter Kane.
Should we bring up the old lady? What is significant?
Oh yeah, the old lady was awesome. I love the old lady. I forgot about the old lady.
There's this nice old lady who runs the hotel.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so Styles says, that's the old lady from the Sutter Kane novel,
yeah.
and Sam Neill says, "Are you crazy? In the novel, she chops her husband up into coleslaw. That woman couldn't." Do that.
Yeah, coleslaw.
Coleslaw.
Let's chop something like that. That's an odd
grating.
You don't chop coleslaw with an axe.
Yeah. Well, I love the coleslaw analogy, and then he brings up she wouldn't even, dunk her dentures into his beer, or maybe that's all she's capable of. Which I thought would be a really great prank if you're one senior citizen who happens to wear dentures and you want to get back at someone. That's a pretty neat way to get back.
Put your teeth in someone's
If we're still drinking together in 30 years, you don't.
Yeah, 30.
And it pulls back, and they go upstairs, and it pulls back, and you see that like the husband is indeed tied up.
Well, this was later on in the movie.
Well, no, he's handcuffed to her ankle.
But this was later on. This is when he goes back to the hotel.
This was the first.
No. This is about 15, 20 minutes later when he goes back to the hotel because he hears these weird noises going. Ugh! And like behind the desk is her naked husband handcuffed to her leg.
It's pretty great.
And she keeps kicking him.
And Sam Neill is like, if we really were in this novel, if I opened these curtains here, we would see a
big black castle,
a church. Yeah. And he opens it, it's a barn, and she's like, "It's west, you idiot." Yeah. And then she opens the curtains, and there is indeed the church.
And then there's the scary synth music.
So what do? They get in the car
there.
and they drive to that fucking
church. Well, that's
church.
what I would do. Yeah.
And what happens when they get to the church?
Well, Sutter Kane opens up the doors.
First, there's a little boy, and the lynch mob arrives.
Oh, there's a lynch mob. That's right.
Well, the first there's nobody. They get there and she's like, "I know what happens because I've read this book. We gotta get the fuck out of here right now."
Wow.
And all these locals start pulling up, and they've got guns.
Oh, right. The boy and the doors keep opening and closing on the boy.
Yeah.
I kept expecting something that like every time it opened,
hit him in the face.
Or no, it would close and then it open again, and he'd be like this figure to be like a monster or something. That's what I was waiting for. But then Sutter Kane is introduced, and with lightning and with like
there's this one guy with a shotgun who wants his son back.
That's the boy.
And the kid won't cross. The little boy won't cross the threshold because he's all fucked up. Because all the kids in this town are fucked up.
They're totally fucked up.
Totally fucked up. Which is the one thing I remember from this movie is like the creepy kids.
Yeah.
And then the doors keep closing and opening, and then eventually they open, and it's Sutter Kane, who's played by
Jürgen Prochnow.
What was he in? Jürgen Prochnow.
Das Boot.
Oh, you're right.
He's the captain in Das Boot. Yeah, I think they should have just called Sutter Kane Jürgen Prochnow. Way better name.
Yeah, totally. And he's got the most '90s hair I've ever fucking seen.
Yeah, he's got some good '90s hair.
I'm loving me some
He's
Jürgen
got
Prochnow
that craggy face, and he was a good choice for like an iconic, the big bad kind of guy in this movie. I think because he looks awesome and he's kind of scary and
a lot of big scary like well-known bad guys have bad hair like Donald Trump and stuff. There's a long tradition of bad hair.
Imagine if Donald Trump was in this movie as Jürgen Prochnow, as Sutter Kane.
Well, with what's his name, the Doctor, he kind of was.
Well,
because of the Gremlins 2, the new batch.
Right. Yeah.
Anyways, so now at this point, Sam Neill's like, "Oh my God, that's Sutter Kane," and Styles is like, "No, we gotta get the fuck out of here.
Let's get out of here," says Styles.
Right? And so I'm starting to think at this point is where Trent is starting to consider that maybe this isn't all an elaborate scheme.
I think maybe no. Actually, I have written before just that they got there's like thinks it's still a scam.
Like,
But and then so what does Jürgen Prosch now do? He releases the hounds.
oh, those fucking horrible.
The Dobermans. Dobermans are sweet dogs. You know, they get such a bad rap in the movies. Like I remember watching
The
a movie
opening
called
credits of Benson.
Oh yeah,
Benson.
Well,
the TV sitcom in
Really,
the 80s,
with,
he's running away from Dobermans.
Is he?
Outside the governor's house.
no, that was the
That
joke.
scared the shit out of me.
No, the joke was that Benson could never get into the house without being chased by the dogs. So in every episode, whenever he was at the door, like Benson would come running to the door. The dogs would be
Robert
barking at him.
Guillaume, I believe his name was. or something like that.
Nowadays, they would say it's racist
Soap.
that the dogs are chasing the black guy.
Yeah.
You know. Because they actually didn't chase anyone else in the show when you think about it.
I never
anyway,
watched
so
Benson,
the Hounds of Hell have been released, and blah 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 blah.
But
blah.
of course they run it, and you know when movie dogs always attack people, it's always right here, right in the forearm. That's where they always attack the forearm.
It's never the throat.
No, never the throat,
Yeah,
never like the
balls.
the balls, the back of the neck.
The forearm, it's the old cliche called it like flesh wound. You know?
Well, it's because when dogs are trained for that, they're trained to attack because they wrap all the stuff. Like it's the easiest thing to get in.
I found
mouth.
the dog attack moments really gruesome and creepy.
In
I
this
really
movie?
like this scene.
Yeah,
and the dog attacks, even though they were Dobermans, like the dog attacks, like tackling each person.
No. Before the pit bull came along, the Doberman was the scariest dog on the on the block.
Yeah, Dobermans are sweet dogs.
This is where the plot starts to
It's
go
kind
all
of go
over
crazy.
the
I know
fucking place.
I've got notes that don't make any sense anymore.
I know.
Maybe I've been reading
By
too
the
much
way,
Sutter Kane.
at this point, I was thinking like, why hasn't the editor of this film gotten the acclaim that they deserve? And I believe the editor's name was
You did
Edward.
make notes. Look at
Those
you.
are your
You made a
notes.
note. You made
Edward.
one
Those
note.
are your notes. It's on a fucking receipt.
Edward.
For the pot
cocktail
clinic.
match.
Yeah.
It's not for the pot clinic. I tore this from receipt paper at the Rio because I was working at the Rio tonight.
Oh, it's the size of a baseball card.
Edward.
I got 3 pages of notes.
Edward Washika. Yeah, what I wrote down was Julie Carmen,
Styles.
Michael DeLuca, who wrote it, and
Right.
Edward Washika. I think I'm mispronouncing it. He's the editor.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
The editing of this film blew
No,
me
he
away.
did
He
it.
had
Yeah.
to make sense of this.
Yeah, made sense of a lot of nonsensical stuff. And then
So they go back to the hotel. Now, at some point, he goes to the bar.
I wrote here. There's an awkward come on. Do they have like they have an awkward?
Oh, no, she's fully...
Oh, all of a sudden she attacks him with
No,
her
no,
mouth.
she wants him to stay. They're in the hotel. They go to the hotel, and he's like, "This is all a total load of shit, sweetheart. I'm out of here." And she's
Was
like,
that Humphrey Bogart?
and she just grabs him and starts smooching him.
Yeah, like really
And she's
awkwardly
like,
gross.
because she's like, "Look, this is bigger than your stupid job and your stupid insurance thing. Like, this isn't a scam. And furthermore, this is a weird supernatural threat to mankind. We have to stay here in Hobbs End and destroy."
But is this part of the book? Because
it is. Well, it's all part of the. Okay, spoiler. Why even wait to the end? The whole thing is part of the fucking book.
Or is
Well, we've already mentioned it a couple times.
Okay, either he's nuts. No, we've never really come out and said that the big twist is that everything has been
no, because
orchestrated.
like in the scene in the hotel scene before, she goes, "In the book, this happens," and there's so she's read. It's in the book. The old lady kills the guy. In the book, you can see the castle or the church from the window.
Okay, she reveals to Sam Neill that
Is she in the book then?
Well, yeah, they're all in the book.
So what is? Whoa, this is my mind, man. It's blown.
We're in the book.
Wow, are we in the book right now?
Probably.
It's the Matrix before the Matrix.
No. We're in like the Matrix 3.
No, I don't want to be in the Matrix.
Hey, don't you dare!
That's the
Don't you
worst
dare
one.
compare this film to that.
So this is her last. This is the last scene that you get with her where she's still herself, because she's saying, "Look, I know what's going on. It's getting more and more fucked up. I'm worried about us, and I'm worried about the world." Yeah. And he's still like, "I'm out of here, sweetheart,"
because he thinks it's a
scam.
And
then she just grabs him and kisses him because she's
really
she's
awkwardly
throwing everything at him like, I'll fuck you if you help me save the world. So,
but again, I could see.
So he goes in the washroom or something, and she takes his keys, so he can't drive away. Yeah. And then doesn't she go off on this weird adventure where she meets Sutter Kane, and then she's fully possessed?
I don't remember that.
Well, yeah, something similar to that.
I remember
this
the
movie
creepy
was
kids
really
show up
hard
again.
to keep track of at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, not a put down to the film.
No, that's why it's so good.
There's a scene when a whole bunch of kids run by and they're chasing a dog and they're kind of creepy. But she sees them, but he doesn't. He doesn't even say anything.
Well, and they get into this fight and they split up. And he goes to the bar, as men do. And then she goes...
To the bar!
I don't know where she's... I think she's going to go and confront Sutter Kane or something. And there's all of these kids. And this is the bit that stuck in my head. And I've actually never forgotten in the 20-some-odd years since I originally saw it. She's surrounded by these kids, and they're all like 7, 8 years old. And they've all got like weird...
They're all fucking
eyes.
gross. They're gross-looking little
monsters.
kids.
But then there's the one with the weird little fat face with like the fangy teeth and the horrible eyes, and just goes, "You're my mommy.
Oh, right.
Do you know what day it is? It's Mommy's Day." And like that has stayed with me my entire adult life as being one of the scariest things I've ever seen in a movie.
You've never been able to celebrate Mother's Day ever since, have you?
Oh, I haven't.
You didn't even call your mom on Mother's Day.
No, forget it.
Yeah.
But she reacts in a strangely calm around these...
I wrote down that the kid looked like a little Groot. From the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
I know who Groot is.
You know who Groot is? Yeah, the little tree guy.
Groot's awesome.
Not
a horrifying monster child.
Maybe there was something else that looked like a little Groot. There's a little gross-looking Groot that came out at some point. Am I wrong in saying that? And see, this movie just gets crazy and goes off the rails.
Well, it gets crazy. So then...
I may have dreamt that.
So then Sam Neill goes to the bar, and it just so happens the only other guy in the bar is the dude with the shotgun from the church.
Yeah. And then
who is played by and this,
some guy
Wilhelm von Homburg.
Oh, great name.
Who
plays Simon?
But who also played the main baddie in Ghostbusters 2.
No one saw that.
Maybe I'm the only one in this room of the three of us who
actually,
saw Ghostbusters
I did see
2.
it. I remember zero.
Anyways, he was cast in Ghostbusters 2 because they needed someone who could look terrifying as a painting. And by all accounts, like Bill Murray and everybody on Ghostbusters 2 were terrified of this actor.
Oh, really?
Like nobody wanted to be around him
Wow.
because apparently he's crazier than a shithouse rat.
And we all know how crazy a shithouse rat can be.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, they're the craziest of the rats.
They're the ones who write the books for the rats that drive all the other rats crazy.
Well, this movie has layers.
So he's sitting in the bar, and is this where he blows his brains out?
And this is finally when Sam Neill comes to the realization this might not be a scam.
This might actually be
This is not a publicity stunt anymore when the guy blows his brains out in front of him in the bar.
Yeah, that is the point. Because the guy says, I can't stop myself. Oh, yeah, and there's a great line where Sam Neill's like, this makes no sense. It's not reality, or we live in reality.
You're doing a terrible Sam Neill.
Well, his accent is impossible
to fake. It's like a Burl Ives or something you're doing. I'm not...
Wow, keep it fresh.
I'm thinking Mo from The Simpsons.
Oh, I love Mo from The Simpsons. Anyways, no, but he says this is reality. And then Wilhelm von Homburg says reality isn't what it used to be, which I think is that should have been...
That's a good line.
The poster. And then he blows his own fucking brains out.
His own brains out.
Yes.
Yes.
So then Sam Neill runs out of the
bar. I think he goes back to the hotel, the castle church thing, and then this is when the sort of things start to go down. After I wrote down pulsating, sweaty door, little Groot, I have still doesn't believe it. So he's after the guy shoots himself in the head, blows his brains out. He goes back to the church. There's a giant door where Jurgen Prussia says there's like the other dimension full of monsters are going to take over the earth and eat everybody. And still, Sam Neill is like,
okay, so
I don't know.
But what about the bit when he's in the car and she's got the keys and all of the townsfolk now literally have torches and pitchforks and are surrounding the car?
the only thing I wrote about,
she eats keys.
She eats the keys.
She eats the keys. That's right. The only thing I wrote about that scene was he's not wearing a seatbelt. That's
And I love how he tries to drive away from the town folks and meets up with the mechanic.
It keeps
it's great.
It's like a Twilight Zone circle.
I'm totally cheering on the movie at this point.
Yeah, me too.
And she's in the passenger seat and he's like, okay, lady, or okay, honey, or hey, friend, we're getting the hell out of here.
But this is after they punch each other in the face.
Oh,
yeah.
God, that was great.
He punches her, she punches him, they punch each other in the face.
No, she punches him first, and then he punches her, and it renders her unconscious, and he puts her in the passenger seat, and he's like, great, and then he gets in the car, and she was faking it, she wasn't really unconscious.
Right.
So then they drive through the townsfolk, they crash She's like a contortionist. Like her
Oh, that
body's
was
all-
awesome.
Spider Walk
from The Exorcist. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
It looked so
It was
fucking
and
good.
Even when she
And
turned
it looked
around and her
better.
head's...
It looked better than the Spider Walk from The
Well,
Exorcist.
because The Exorcist was also 1972.
It's true.
So
Jumping back to In the Mouth of Madness, I think that scene did better than the much
I
heralded.
agree. I totally agree. I thought it was great.
So does the kid on the bike come by? Like, because
I think the kid in the bike reappears, or the old man, I don't remember. Oh no, doesn't she ride off on the back of the bike at some
I
point?
think so.
No, she rides past him.
But doesn't she ride
He's
off on the
alone at some point. You don't see her ride away on it,
I thought
but she
that-
rides past him, or he
And-
drives past them.
And he follows her to the church, still trying to save her. And I'm pretty sure at this point he's convinced that this is all real.
Finally convinced that this
maybe-
might just be happening.
Pat, he blacks out and he wakes up in the confession booth. And the father confessor is Sutter Kane.
And for some reason he wants to open a portal to another world. Like it's very, very Lovecraftian at that point when it's full of monsters. So yeah, there's a great line by Sutter Kane. He says, "I think, therefore you are."
That's
It sort of sums up the whole movie right there.
Beer.
Was
while
that
we do-
the last beer?
That is the last one.
How'd that happen? Am I gonna have to buy more than 12 beers for these podcasts?
I think so.
Or maybe we should just cut them down to
the
less than 4 hours.
The podcast could be shorter.
Yeah.
I would like to talk about the special effects because there's a scene where Sam Neill opens a door and he just sees like some empty room or whatever, and then he closes it and he opens it like very quickly.
Within reason.
And nowadays they would have a green screen and it would just be like, oh, a different room.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the one room, close the door, opens it, it's another room. But they actually redressed. They had like a fucking staff of people coming in and of set designers basically taking down one set and then creating another one
in real time.
In real time, in the way that like Michel Gondry might do. You know, the set that he opens up to is Sutter Kane sitting at a desk with one of his dogs, and the dog runs off to the left. It took 17 takes of that
To get the dog, really?
Because the dog kept going the wrong direction.
Stupid dog. Can't change an entire set.
They can if the set that they're replacing it with is a desk with a dog and Sutter Kane sitting there with some creepy like breathing walls. This is how they did it. This is a miracle of filmmaking.
Yeah, but
why are you even doubting this?
Because I think the miracle of filmmaking is not what you think it is.
It's one take.
Well, like you can tell it's one take.
What I mean is there's no
cut.
cuts. Sam Neill has a line. He opens the door. He looks through it. He turns around. They keep talking. At no point do they cut. They open the door again, and it's a completely different fucking room. It's a really impressive scene. Okay, we haven't even talked about how the little old lady turned into a giant tentacle monster.
Oh, right.
Sutter Kane rips himself apart like a piece of paper.
Like a book.
Like a book.
Oh.
And then the monsters start chasing
Sam
Neill through this portal between.
Maybe it was the.
Maybe he's told to return to reality with the book.
Yeah.
Right, because he's got to bring it, and he tries to destroy the book.
Yeah.
But it comes back to him. It's delivered to him in the real world, or whatever the real world is.
Well, he winds up living in some motel.
Yeah.
He leaves it at the side of the highway. He appears on the highway. He travels back through the tunnel to the so-called real world.
Where's Styles at this point? Did we lose Styles?
She's
lost.
She turned into a monster.
She's doing that crab monster.
He kind of implied, and he says later in the movie she was written out of the story. Remember?
Well, yeah.
Right.
But anyway, he goes through the tunnel, gets back to the so-called real world. Another kid comes along on a bicycle. He asks the kid if he's ever heard of this fictitious town. He says, the kid says no. And the kid's like, it looks like you've been in an accident. He says he has been. Sam Neill says that he himself has been in an accident. But he walks away. He leaves the manuscript on the highway. Then he checks into that motel, and that's when it gets delivered back to him.
Right. I thought he burned it or something like that.
He takes the delivered copy and burns it page by page.
Did he poop on it? Was there, am I thinking
no, he's burning it in the toilet to prevent a big... He doesn't want to burn the hotel down.
What's funny is he checks in the motel and he's like, "Oh, what a day I've had," and then
gosh darn it.
Then he sleeps and then when he checks out and the guy's like, "Oh, because it's not a hotel, it's a motel, so you have to make a point of going into that little office. It's not like a hotel where you walk past the lobby whenever you want to leave the building." And this teenager's like, "Oh, are you Sam? Are you Sam Neill? This came for you."
John Trent.
John Trent.
Oh, I am
right?
Sam Neill.
And he's like, "No one knew it was here." The kid's like, "Well, yeah. Well, anyways, here's this obvious manuscript
Sam
thing."
Neill's are getting really terrible. No offense.
What I could never figure out was why they bothered having him check in and then sleep, and then why didn't they just...
He had to sleep.
When he got to the motel, it would have been way scary if the book was waiting for him when he got there.
Yeah, under the covers, maybe on the pillow.
I liked it showing up after he slept, because he thinks he's going to
loses it on this teenager. He's like, "Where'd this fucking book come from, you little shit?" He's going to kill
still
this guy.
thinking it's a scam.
You still
He's
think
not. He
he's
isn't.
still thinking it's a
No,
scam.
he isn't.
I still
No,
think
No, I think at this point he realized it's not a scam. He's seen the monsters. He's been chased by the monsters.
He went through a fucking portal.
He saw Styles turn into a crab monster.
If you were chased by monsters and had to run through a portal to escape them, would you want to believe it was real? Hell no. I would still try to rationalize it as. Plus, it's also at this point too, the movie really was a big analogy, like a guy, because they make numerous references to schizophrenia. And listen, I understand when people get upset about movies maybe exploiting mental illnesses or something like that. I didn't get a feeling from this movie at all, but from the little bit I know, I mean, I'm not schizophrenic, but the little bit I know about it, or what I do know of it, having, encountered it here and there, I got a real vibe. It was exploring that state of mind. So it's like he's fighting his own madness at this point, even as the title. Again, this movie, I still thought it
was funny when he got all mad at the poor kid who just happens to be working at the shitty motel.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Sorry, mister, I just deliver in the mail.
Because I also got, not having seen this before, part of me was still thinking, like, what if this turns out to be David Fincher's The Game,
Oh,
right.
It's really fucking me over.
Like
That's a whole other movie. I like it too, but again, it's like, I just wouldn't want to believe that shit. I would rather wake up the next day in a hotel.
I have to be honest, but at this point in the movie, I was getting a little tired, and I started writing some things down that I don't know what they mean.
Okay.
I wrote down cool bus scene.
Okay.
Brilliant scene on a bus.
It's a great scene. Okay, so he gets on this...
Oh, right. He's asleep on the bus.
Yeah.
And then he has the dreams or whatever, and he wakes up.
He destroys the manuscript.
Yeah.
So he goes into his hotel and he burns every single page.
So he does burn it all.
Yes.
That was after he pooped on it.
And he doesn't just he doesn't poop on anything.
No.
He makes a point of burning every single page of this manuscript not reading any of it.
Even the books have like blank pages at the end and the beginning. Did you burn those?
Yeah, even the dedication.
Really?
Yeah.
Just burn it. He burned the fucking dedication. Because it's dedicated to him.
It's dedicated to him. I wouldn't be surprised. Oh. And by the way, I've never wanted to read a book more than this book that they keep going on about. Like, I want to go crazy.
If I could read a book, I'd lose my mind.
I want my eyes to bleed when I read a book.
Yeah. That shitty, stage.
Oh yeah, we didn't even bring that up. That like throughout this movie, there's people walking around, like walking down the street, reading Sutter Kane with their eyes bleeding, like they're walking down the sidewalk.
And nobody notices.
So he takes a Greyhound. So his day's not getting better. He's talking to a nice old lady. He's talking to a nice old lady, and then when he wakes up, it's Sutter Kane. And Sutter Kane says, "You still don't believe me. By the way, did I ever tell you that my favorite color is blue?" And then he wakes up again, and everything is fucking blue,
which is cool.
And then he just loses it. He's just screaming on the bus. And then I guess he's back in the city. Like no one has called the authorities about. Oh no! Then it's a dream again. So they do a triple. They do the triple whammy.
They do the triple whammy.
He's back in Charlton Heston's office, and he says, I can't explain what happened to Styles." And Charlton Heston's like, "Who?
Who the fuck's Styles?"
Yeah. So she's been written out of the book, and he's begging him. He's like, "Don't publish this fucking book."
Yeah, this is one of my favorite parts of the movie.
I burned every page of it, but you got a manuscript somehow, so you're gonna cause the end of the world. Mm-hmm. And Charlton Heston's like, "But I'm making so much money."
Because we published it 7 months ago.
Oh, really?
And
the movie's coming out next week.
The movie's being released like that day or something like that.
Or the movie's going to be released next week or something.
Yeah, anyways.
Yeah, for people who don't read.
Weird. And earlier in this film, they implied the movie was made already because there was a flash to a marquee. And I didn't read it correctly, I guess, until you see it the second time in the movie. Because it says "In the Mouth of Madness" starring John Trent.
Well, no.
Sam Neill's character, but hold on. Earlier in the movie, I thought for sure it said on the marquee John Carpenter. I thought it paid homage to itself, which still would have worked for me. But they imply a bit earlier in the movie through the brilliant editing. The brilliant editing is
your favorite editor now.
Not my favorite editor, but damn good work on this. And I'm sorry I threw away my receipts.
Your one note.
My one note with his name on. But seriously, brilliant editing. They flashed that marquee, and that would have worked for me.
Well, there's also a scene at the end which I loved. I loved everything about the ending. But there's one scene at the end that didn't make sense to me. Is when there's a huge lineup to get the new Sutter Kane book, and people are going crazy. But they just said the Sutter Kane book's been out for 7 months. Why is there a huge lineup to get the new Sutter Kane book? And why is everyone going crazy?
It's mind control. And
but everyone's angry. Everyone's angry in line. People are fighting. The bookstore's trash.
And the Coles notes just make you kind of crazy.
Well, also,
you're a little irritable.
Also, this movie reminded me a lot of Videodrome.
Okay, so let's get to the ending.
Videodrome.
Let's get to the ending. Let's get to the ending, and then we'll talk about our feelings about it. So. After Sam Neill has the meeting with Chucky Heston, for some reason Sam Neill just kills. There's this guy walking down the street reading Sutter Kane.
No, with his eyes bleeding.
His eyes are bleeding. And Sam Neill just goes, "Do you like Sutter Kane?" And the kid's like, "Yeah, my eyes are bleeding." And then
pulls out his axe.
Sam Neill fucking kills him with the same axe.
Did he take that axe from that guy?
Well, no, but it's the same axe.
Earlier in the movie, the very beginning, when Sam Neill is first looking at Sutter Kane novels, that guy comes up to him.
Yeah, I remember that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
That character he ends up axing. The film came full circle, and for me, it was just like,
So he kills him. And I'm assuming for that reason he winds up in the lunatic asylum.
No. Firstly, no. It ends up in the movie theater.
No. That's after we go back to the lunatic asylum.
That's right. After David Warner leaves.
So and he's like, that's what I did on my summer vacation.
And then at the outside scene of the insane asylum, there's like the ambulance is like it's empty. It's like on the side of the road.
But you're skipping a couple of scenes.
Am I?
Yes. Sam Neill kills the guy, and then that's why he winds up in the loony bin.
Right.
And then it cuts back to David Warner, and then Sam Neill's like, "So it's getting pretty crazy out there, isn't it?" And David Warner doesn't really say anything. And then and Sam Neill's like, "I'd rather be in this padded cell than out there because it's safer in here."
Right.
And David Warner leaves to go back to wherever the hell he came from.
Right.
Presumably
get
on board the Titanic
Warner
or whatever.
Brothers.
And as he's leaving, the doctor with the Eraserhead hair says,
Right.
"Do you read Sutter Kane?"
No.
And then David Warner just kind of looks over his shoulder and doesn't say anything. He walks away.
That's why he's one of the last sane people.
And then all this shit goes down, and
like
everybody in the building is killed.
Yeah.
All these weird tentacle creatures, and the door is thrown open or whatever. And then when everyone's dead, Sam Neill walks out, and he's in his pajamas, covered in all his fucking upside down crosses.
Yeah.
And he just, I guess he walks into Manhattan or whatever from the loony bin.
It looked like it'd be a long walk because it's like in the middle of nowhere, as far as I could tell.
And cars are burning at this point.
Yeah,
and
all because of Sutter Kane.
All because of Sutter
There's a
Kane.
bit of news reportage going on in form of narration. Reminded me of the end of The Birds when they're leaving the house.
Yeah,
and you hear a bit in a news report on how the birds. I'm talking about Hitchcock's classic.
Yeah.
Pardon me, of course.
Of course.
Hitchcock's classic. Yes.
Well, Angry Birds.
Well, anyway, the end of The Birds where they're leaving the house and you hear a bit of the news report and they're kind of pulling themselves together to face the world.
Yeah.
And you hear the news report stating on how bad the conditions have gotten. That's happening here in this movie.
And he's walking along. So here's the ending we need to talk about, whether it's a complete cop-out or whether it's good. He comes up to a movie theater, and the movie theater is playing In the Month of Madness, starring
Trent
Reznor. Trent Reznor. And he goes into the theater, and he sits down. He's the only dude in the theater, and he's got this big old bucket of popcorn. He's wearing his crazy clothes.
Yeah, his crazy hand-drawn clothes.
And then he watches the movie that we all just watched.
Yeah.
And he starts laughing like a fucking
like Robert De Niro in Cape Fear, just laughing like a crazy person.
Love it. And then he gets into this weird like laughter / crying.
Yeah, like me at Thanksgiving.
Does that ending suck, or is that ending amazing?
I love the ending. I still don't understand it. Like, what is the movie? What happened? I have no idea. Like,
I loved the movie.
Because I love movies that I don't understand or that confuse me. I don't like what the like is the ending of the book him in the theater watching the ending like. I love the ending. It didn't make a lot of sense to me, and it's one you could think about and we could talk about for another hour. We probably shouldn't, but we could because it's
last call's in 8 minutes.
Oh, well, we should wrap this up then.
We should call this show Last Call. Actually.
By the way, I met John Carpenter.
Really?
I got drunk with him too.
Really?
I did.
Oh, you bastard! I'd love to get drunk with John Carpenter.
I met him at the Fantasia Film Festival back in I think
Montreal.
it was 98 or 99. It's in Montreal. Yeah, he presented Vampires.
That's
that
a
was
shitty
a brand new movie.
Fuck, I hated that movie.
He presented the film.
Yeah.
I met him at the festival.
Movie.
I used to work at the festival, and no, it's not despicable.
I hated it.
It just falls short of what
James
it could
Woods'
have been.
belt buckle.
Here's the thing.
All I remember is being horribly sexist and uncomfortable and really punishing and terrible. I hated it.
But
okay.
Me and the other festival people, we ended up being hospitality too, and we took him on a bender, and it was amazing. And I'll say that for another episode. That being said, but
cool,
I didn't get to say my feelings about this movie.
We haven't got that. We're not
there.
yet.
We're still talking about the ending.
No, yeah, we haven't got that.
Okay,
yet.
so
it's okay, man.
Now,
you'll get
what about Last Call?
Well, we got.
Why don't we pause?
We got lots of time.
We'll get Last
no,
Call.
Wait, no, hold up, wait. Give me.
No, it's not in 8 minutes. It's 1
just
o'clock.
said it was.
No, I was joking. It's in like.
He's a comedian.
It's in like 25 minutes. Anyways, so this movie. Now is the point in the podcast where I would like to talk about the difference in how I originally felt about this movie and how I felt about it when I watched it yesterday. When I was just too dumb to really appreciate it. I wanted things to be very obvious and like I was not interested in nuance. I'm still not particularly interested in nuance, but I'm a bit better at it now, 25 years later. Yeah. I loved the shit out of this movie. Sorry, hitting the fucking...
It's okay. I love the show.
I gotta say, I adore this movie. Like, I will recommend it to customers. It is so much better than I remember it being. I remember thinking it was a kind of a cop-out, kind of lame, kind of stupid. And now I realize that was the whole fucking point. Criminally underrated. I would put it in the top... Like, definitely top 5 John Carpenter films.
Yeah.
It might even be better than some of my most beloved John Carpenters.
What are your most beloved John Carpenters?
Well, Big Trouble in Little China, The Thing, Assault on Precinct 13. Those immediately spring to mind as like my favorites.
Halloween?
I've never been that fond of Halloween. I mean, I recognize the brilliance of Halloween. Also, I don't think it's that great. Because honestly, like Escape from New York doesn't really have much of a story.
You're escaping from
his
New York.
Elvis movie.
Well, nothing. You and your Elvis movie.
John Carpenter made a brilliant Elvis movie.
So
nothing really happens in Escape from New York.
So
the thing I love because something happens because because like identity is called into question. And by the way, when I did research for this movie. Repeatedly, John Carpenter has said that apparently there's a trilogy, and this is the third one of his. Really? He calls it the Apocalypse trilogy. The first one.
They Live would be in there, I have to assume.
I'm pretty sure.
Prince of Darkness is in there.
Yeah, those are the three movies I mentioned
It's
earlier.
The Thing.
It's like a little trilogy.
It's the Thing, Prince of Darkness, and In the Mouth of Madness.
Yeah, I like that.
Which all kind of makes sense.
Now I want to go back and watch those other two.
So, anyways, I'm recommending this wholeheartedly.
So this is a thumbs up.
Huge thumbs up.
It holds up.
Not only does it hold up, it like holds up like better than I remember.
Awesome.
So watch it. Go see it. It's
fucking
fantastic.
Alex, I know you didn't see it before.
I had never seen this film before. I hummed and hawed when you told me what we were going to watch next.
Well, I didn't. I just suggested.
He ordered.
Yeah, we ordered you.
When the orders came down from the high command.
When the whip cracked, I just agreed that I had to go along. I loved this film. I loved it, and I'm so glad you guys picked it. I know this is cheesy, even sentimental sound, but I'm telling you, I really like this movie. I'm completely fascinated by it. I want to watch it again.
Excellent.
for sure. I would highly recommend it. And it was such a pleasant surprise on all levels. Wickedly funny. Genuinely scary and creepy at moments. Great chemistry with the actors.
Styles.
Brilliant editing. And no, I would highly recommend this film. And I'm serious. Like, John Carpenter, he's always had a... I feel he's been shorted in terms of the credit he deserves, especially alongside his peers like Spielberg and De Palma and stuff like that. And it's like his best works will stand up with any of his peers. And I honestly believe somewhere like 50 years down the road or something, this sounds cheesy, but like seriously, this will be one of those movies that's going to rise to the top. Like someday because I do believe John Carpenter, his best work will be watched. 50 years down the road in Cinematex, I truly believe that.
He's a true American auteur. Like,
but I could see this being one of those movies where it's like, because he's got stuff too that's not necessarily that great. Everyone has a misstep here and there that necessarily won't be remembered. But this film, I think, is going to rise. I think his stuff will be remembered years ahead, and this film is going to rise in his canon. I really do. I think it's a really brilliant movie.
Yeah.
Completely brilliant. I was completely, and the ending totally worked for me.
Yeah, we could talk about the ending forever.
Yeah,
it was, and in a way, this film for me kind of showed like it was almost like less about a fictional character that we're gonna watch than it was like, hey, what do fictional characters go through? The hell fictional characters go through when they're being created.
And then imagine if a fictional character actually woke up and realized that he was a fictional character,
and an actor's going to play him in a movie and stuff.
And so, hey,
it totally worked for me as a meditation. As cheesy as that sounds, I don't whip this film out off this word out often.
You don't whip out what often?
This word out often when discussing films. I'm serious. It's a meditation on the creation of horror. I found it completely brilliant. You know what? I really love this movie.
In my notes, I didn't say meditation.
I know it's a cheesy way of putting it, but I completely love the film.
As a meta commentary on the horror genre.
No, it really was.
Like, it's like far better than Scream, which was like, oh, we're super...
Like, this was
I wouldn't even compare it to Scream, because Scream's a completely different animal. And I love Wes Craven. I love the first Scream. So I don't know. I wouldn't put down Scream by comparing it to this.
Well, no, but I mean, similarly, like characters in horror stories becoming self-aware that they are characters in horror stories.
It also totally reminded me by one other thing too. I bet you $10, Carpenter. I mean, you know he's a fanatic of old Hollywood.
$10, you say?
Is very Godard. This film too, Jean-Luc Godard, very much so.
No, I thought you were talking about like Gary Godard.
Yeah, or Billy Godard, down the street. But seriously, this film, like in reflecting on its own form, it completely blew me away.
So, Mr. Darren, how did you feel about?
Well, you know, it's funny because looking back, I had very fond memories when I saw this, because I remember watching it. I don't remember a lot about it, but I remember watching it and having such a fun, visceral reaction to it, because it's a strange movie. It's fucked up. And it kind of reminded me of the first time I watched Phantasm, because it's a totally strange, fucked up
I made
movie.
that exact same comparison.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, absolutely Phantasm.
Yeah. And so, like, to me, like, I think I probably liked it more back when I first saw it, because it was new and original, and it was crazy to me. But I totally enjoyed watching it again. I loved watching it again, and it was fun. About my only complaint, I think it should have been maybe a little longer and maybe fleshed out a few more of the themes that it was going for. Because I found that the last act, the last third of it, kind of rushed it along with the monsters and him going crazy, and then sort of the reality folding in on itself. Well, whatever just happened.
Because it's only 90 minutes, this movie.
Yeah, I thought it could have been longer, because it seemed to go by fast, which is great in a horror film.
Yeah.
And I generally don't like long movies, especially if they're unnecessarily long. And I find a lot of movies are unnecessarily long, like comedies and action movies are stupidly long. But horror movies are better when they're short. But I felt this one could have been a little longer, just to flesh out a few more of the ideas.
And this is widely considered to be the last good John Carpenter movie.
Last great John Carpenter movie.
It is great. You know what I used to say?
But I think it's also probably the most underrated John Carpenter movie.
I would say...
I'd say this is more underrated.
No, what we're talking about here. But I have a question for both of you. Have you ever been in the Mouth of Madness? And what does it smell like?
Or do you mean like the band from the UK, Our House? Like,
I
Our house
each
in
of
the
their
middle of
mouths?
our
Like, where
Our
are we going
mouth in the center of madness.
Anyways, let's wrap this up. I think we're all in the consensus that this is a great movie.
Absolutely.
I think
Totally
brilliant film.
Loved it.
One quick question now.
Yeah.
So, customer comes in. It's 2 for $1 Monday.
Oh.
They pick up In the Mouth of Madness. What would be a good
Well, I'm going
comparison?
I'm going to continue on my recommendations of movies that have nothing to do with the ones that we watched.
Okay.
But I know Alex is going to disagree with me vehemently on this. But the best movie I've seen recently was a movie called The Greasy Strangler. Loved it. It's so crazy. It's vile, disgusting. It's terrible. It's poorly acted. It's there's no reason for it to exist. But I thought it was amazing. It restored my faith in watching movies again because I've seen so much Hollywood stuff lately. It was refreshing.
Alex, what are you going to pair up In the Mouth of Madness with?
Well, I'm going to pair it up with a really... I haven't revisited it lately, but just for a fucked up movie about an author, I would pair it up with The Dark Half. George Romero with Timothy Hutton.
That's a Stephen King
good.
movie.
There's amazing moments in it, and it's just like... there's a great scene in the beginning
Way
where
to
brain
embarrass
surgery and an eyeball opens up, but the insanity of a writer and the...
Dylan has his recommendation.
My recommendation would be, in this camp, all I thought through this entire movie was this reminds me of Phantasm. I'm not sure why.
Yeah.
It's so much like Phantasm. It's another dimension.
It's unpredictable, and that's one thing I like about it. It's unpredictable.
So that is In the Mouth of Madness from.
Sorry that took 4 hours to tell
John
everyone
Carpenter,
about.
1995.
But we had a lot of fun watching it. Highly recommended. Please
we all
come
loved
and watch it. Yeah.
Come on in here at the corner of Commercial Drive
And over on
Grant
Cambie Street as well.
and also on Cambie at
Yeah, we have
19th
it there
across from the
too.
Park Theater.
2 chances to watch it.
We have a website and all that shit, but you can Google that and find it. So I'm going to say goodnight to you guys.
Yeah.
I have been Dylan Reimer.
And I have been Darren Gay, and I will be in the future.
And I am Alex Chisholm.
Yes. Good night.
And you remain so.
To the bar. Let's get the last call.
Yeah, to the bar.
The Black Dog After Dark podcast is recorded at Black Dog Video on Commercial Drive in Vancouver, Canada. It's presented by Alex Chisholm, Darren Gay, and Dylan Reimer. It is produced by Dylan Reimer and Darren Gay. Alex just kind of stands there and drinks beer. The intro and outro music was recorded by Tiger Burning Bright, composed by Jeff, who works at Jefferson's Barbershop, also on Commercial Drive.